Hello, good morning. Showing you my mug of coffee. This is one of my favorite mugs. I'm a Golden Girls fan, and it's one of my things. I can watch those episodes over and over again. And one of my nearest and dearest friends, Jessica, knew this or knows this. Live like Rose, dress like Blanche, think like Dorothy, speak like Sophia. I mean, it says it all. I love when things are so simple and obvious, but you didn't think of it yourself. You're like, how did I not think of like something like that and someone else did? I am coming off of a Marie Forleo hangover in a good way. I am sans makeup and I haven't showered yet, but I wanted to get this to you soon, and I knew if I didn't do it now, I may not do it at all today. So I'm coming off of an event from last night, the event was held by Anderson's Bookshop, a local Naperville, as well as some other suburbs bookstore, indie bookstore, and they had an event in Naperville for Marie Forleo's new book, Everything is Figure Outable. The book is signed by Miss Marie, which was awesome to get a signed book and just get a book in itself into my hand. So this is Marie Forleo is someone that I hate the word followed because I feel like it's overused, but she's been a virtual mentor of mine, and I feel like a virtual friend since Brooklyn was born. I was telling the ladies last night that I was with at the event that I don't even know how I stumbled upon her. I believe it was something with the health coaching world that I was in. And I think it was Chris Carr, because when I was in school, Chris Carr was involved in teaching at the school that I was going to, IIN, and they're besties, Chris Carr and Marie Forleo. So I think somehow I found Marie through that and then got on my personal development whirlwind tour, let's just say, and Marie is basically where I started with that. And if you are if personal development is a passion of yours, you'll find that there's a lot of them that seem to be friends, and they all like recommend each other. You'll start seeing videos and ads on your Facebook feed of other people, or they may be guests on their podcasts, et cetera, recommending books, things like that. So Marie has introduced me to many people that I have read their books and listened to their podcasts and been inspired. But for some reason, I've been inspired by many, but for some reason, Marie has just stuck with me this whole entrepreneurial world as well as personal world. So I don't just follow her and listen to her Marie TV and get her emails and actually read them. I took her B school, and all those things weren't done simply because I, admired her from afar and wanted to be like her. I've been following her and connecting with her because of her authenticity. I feel every time that I see her face, hear her voice, read a word of hers, that it is coming straight from her and it's authentic. It's not shouting. It's motivational without telling you and shouting from the mountaintops that you need to do this and you need to do that. And it's, her message resonates with me. And what I like is I can take it into my personal world too. So last night, with my heart beating, and I went in scared, as many of the books that I've read tell you to do, and they had a Q&A, so I loved the format last night. It was Marie on a chair, and the moderator Lovey, they were both in just comfy chairs on stage. And it was just kind of a chill. Marie came out with Lovey, and they both seemed like just good girlfriends versus a moderator and the author. And it was very relatable. It was comfortable. I felt like I wanted to pull up a chair right next to him. And I think that's the great thing when you listen to someone speak and when your ears are turned on, that a reason is the authenticity, the storytelling, I think, is very powerful in a person, and you feel, that connection. And I vowed last night, I took a couple pictures, I will say in the beginning, but I sat there and I said, I saw all these people Instagramming and taking pictures, selfies, and, whatnot. And I said, I'm going to really just take this in. So putting the phone in my purse, I sat there and I listened with intention and really paid attention to her words, which it was amazing, especially with my writing right now and her just writing and finishing her book, listening to her story with her book and her journey with her book and things that she was saying and the struggles she went through and tips she was giving. And everything she was saying, I was like, this is exactly why I came tonight. I needed to hear these things. But personally, I focused my question. So I was one of the people that bolted up, went to a line and, waited for that microphone to ask Marie a question. And I did it on a personal level versus a business level. The question that I asked her was, her book is called Everything is Figure Outable. And I remember her Super Soul Sunday 2016 event that I saw online where she showcased and unleashed this saying, everything is figure outable, which came from her childhood growing up with her mom and her mother. And that's the first chapter. I haven't read it yet, but I read the first couple pages. I'm like, oh, she's talking about her mom in the beginning, which is what she's talked about in the past and her little everything is figure outable motto throughout her life and how she's gotten where she's, where she is today. So I have actually taken the everything is figure outable approach verbally as well as with action with my daughter, Brooklyn, who's 6. So when we're having struggles, when Brooklyn is stressed out, when I can tell there's anxiousness, worry about something, or maybe she's communicating a situation that happened at school, or, something simple that's happening in the home where something's not working in her way, I bring up everything is figure outable, and I say that to her. I look into her eyes and then I make sure she's connecting with me and that there are no distractions. I avoid the distractions and I have her eyes connected with mine. And I say, everything is figure outable. And I tell her too, it may not be the solution you thought it would be, or maybe the solution you wanted it to be, but there are ways to figure things out and work towards them. Marie clarified last night because she did have a child ask her, not at the event, but say to her, everything's not figure outable. And there's a lot of people that are skeptical of that. And I raised my hand when Marie asked, does anyone have any hesitation at all that everything is figure outable? And I was honest and said, yeah, I'm sure there's times when you can't. So she listed, a few things that can prevent where everything is figure outable may not work. One of them was if it's a fact of life. Like she had a story about someone's mother dying, death, unfortunately, or a chronic illness, or, is something that you can't get out of. That is not figure outable. However, the ways to make life the best way possible for that person, let's say that has cancer, terminal, maybe does only have a few months to live, the person that is the caregiver figuring out how to make life the best way possible, medically, comfort-wise, emotionally, geographically, having them in their home, for example, and just figuring out how to make life enjoyable for that person. So it may not be a figuring out situation like, oh, I can cure cancer. But there are ways where things are, figure outable. And we, another thing was that, if something isn't doesn't become figure outable, it may be that your heart's not into it and you don't want to figure it out. And that's okay. So just recognizing that and seeing where that takes you, and maybe letting something go. And, you may not want to put in the effort and time to spend, figuring things out. But so my question to Marie was, when you're raising a daughter, and I mentioned to Marie that I've used her everything is figure outable, those exact words into my daughter's ears, and Marie, her heart just, she had her hand on her heart, like, it meant the world to her, I'm sure. And I said, how do you bring this philosophy into a child's world using words that they understand? Because I understand that my daughter is 6, and my world of personal development and things that I am told as a 43-year-old adult isn't processed the same way as a 6-year-old yet. So I have to remember that she has a 6-year-old brain and I have a 43-year-old brain. And sometimes I'll say things where it is one ear out the other and she doesn't quite understand the complexity. Sometimes I have a hard time understanding it and I have to reread things or really practice things for it to become part of my life. So Marie does not have a biological child, which she said at first, like, I don't know if I can answer this because I'm not I don't have I'm not a mom. And I sat there, over people like laughing at that. And I said, I know you can answer this, like kind of throwing back that everything is figure outable on her. And she does have a stepson. And I knew that which is still being a mom. So, I wanted to give her credit for that and kudos for that. But I don't think you necessarily need to be a mom to give the advice that I was asking. And I knew that she would give awesome advice. And of course she did. And at the end, I'm like, I knew you'd have the answer. And she basically said the world of modeling is so important. So when she grew up, seeing her mom fixing the roof on her own, because back then, her mom was a single mom, probably paycheck to paycheck, it sounded like, and figuring things out on her own. And she didn't have the luxury to call some roofer and spend thousands of dollars to, fix the roof. She had to figure it out on her own. If the orange juice machine, breaks down, I'm looking in her book, the Tropicana orange is the first chapter, the name of the chapter. And, this is, everything is figure outable just starts on page 3 with her mom trying to figure out how to, fix something, putting down the screwdriver, saying nothing in life is that complicated. You can do whatever you set your mind to. If you just roll up your sleeves, get in there and do it. Everything is figure outable. And this phrase in philosophy took root in my soul. Since then, it's become the most powerful driving force in my life. So I want to give Marie credit that even though she hasn't physically had a child, which big deal, I don't think you need to have wonderful advice and insight. I think sometimes the outsider advice is even better at times. And modeling your behavior like her mother did for her, and her just simply seeing what her mom would figure out on her own, struggles and all. It wasn't easy. Marie saw this, and Marie was inspired and uses this philosophy with everything she does in her business, in her marriage, and other things personally in her life. So I just immediately, I found this saying back in 2016 relatable when it came to my business. But I also immediately was like, when my daughter when she started being able to communicate at age like 3 and 4 more, I started using this with her as, raising her as a strong girl. And I told Marie when I asked, I did a little preface before asking the question of, the one thing I'm scared of right now and terrified, more likely, is her world around her, the friends she's interacting with, the people that how they'll be treating her, obstacles being thrown in her way, challenges, sadness, disappointment, and her being able to navigate with an everything is figure outable approach instead of feeling helpless and feeling that that she needs other people to help her figure it out. And of course she's going to need help at times. I mean, yes, we have our tribe and our friends and our family around us, but I want her to gain independence, gain confidence and strength with trying to figure out things on her own. And I think as women in the postpartum world as well, I think that Everything is Figure Outable is a great book to put on your nightstand and take time to read when you have the time. 10 pages a day, that is always my goal, and I sometimes surpass that. And you can do 10 pages a day. And figuring out your world after baby, and that everything is figure outable. Reading this before baby comes to your world, and having the confidence that even though life can suck at times and it may seem like it's lasting forever, or you're struggling and you just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you will figure it out. It takes work and practice, like anything in life. You can't just sit there and good things happen to you. You have to go out there and make things happen. And sometimes we need inspiration from the outside world, whether it's me that you can reach out to, whether it's a book, whether it's, a group therapy session, a therapist, a friend, anything out there, and being able to figure out and navigate your world during that first year of motherhood, which is so tough. And I think all we need sometimes is that little confidence and that little voice in us telling us that we can do it and we can figure all of this out. And if we need help, that we can ask for it and figure it out together. So I'm going to close shop for now. I want you to go on Amazon and buy this book. It is already a bestseller. Maria's touring right now, so check your city and see if she's going to be there. I think today she's in Seattle. It was amazing to meet her, see her realness on stage, just chilling like, a girlfriend on a couch, which is kind of, I sat there inspired saying, this is what I'm doing. Like, I want to be that girlfriend on the couch. I want women to not just be inspired and be, motivated, but to also feel relaxed and feel that they can relate to me and that we're on the same playing field. We're on the same level and no one is better than anyone else. Everything is figure outable, and you can do it with the help of many people around you, including myself. So thank you, Marie Forleo. Thank you to Andersons for hosting her and doing such a great job. It was a wonderful event. I can't wait to dive into this book and bring this, even more into my life personally as well as professionally. And this is inspiring me to write today. So writing this book that I want to get in your hands next year. So thanks for watching. Have a great week. I'll see you next week on same channel, not the same time maybe, but thanks for watching. Top knot and all.